Hi everybody from Windy Acre Bees, and I just wanted to take a few minutes here. This may go a little bit longer than I normally do, but just to help new beekeepers and old beekeepers alike make your decision on which hive feeder or colony feeder you would like to use. They all have their different uses. When I started out, I used a frame feeder. This is what they look like. You can fill about a gallon or just over a gallon in here, and the bees will climb down into these holes, and they will drink the water from the perforations inside those tubes. If I can get one of those tubes out here, you can see that it's all perforated. The only problem I found with this here is that when they start getting stacked up in here and they're really hungry, they will pile down in here, you know, tens at a time. And what ends up happening is that the more bees that pile down here, they're piling on top and pushing the bees that are in there already down further, and they're drowning them. So, you know, potentially I was losing, you know, anywhere from 75 to 100 bees every time I fed them with one of these. They're great for swarms, for your new swarms, where you only have, you know, 3,000, 4,000 bees, your nooks, when you're placing them into a new deep body. And so initially, when you place this here in place, you're taking up about 2 frames, and you have the other 8 frames for them to build on. And realistically, it's a temporary solution. You can use it for, you know, a week or two. Give them some sugar water to drink while they're orienting themselves to their new area and finding their new nectar sources, and then remove it and then replace your you know, feeder with 2 new frames of comb. So further, we have what they call a entrance feeder. It looks like this here. Basically, on the bottom of that, I don't know if you can see in there, but on the bottom of that lid, it looks like this. There's a bunch of holes in there, and when you turn it upside down, it creates a vacuum, and it only allows them to drink out of those holes, just like a hamster feeder or gerbil feeder. And what they'll do is they'll crawl into this little slot. It actually goes underneath the between the bottom board and your deep, and it'll go like that. And you can see where they could go inside there and they could drink out of it. Works great in most of the time, but when there's a dearth and robbing starts, you end up having to put entrance reducers on the bottom, just so that there's one hole for them to defend and not allow other bees in. But even still, there'll be a lot of fighting going on right out here, right at the entrance down here. And we want to prevent fighting. Even though they're not getting in, we want to keep them from fighting. Those foragers need to get out and do their thing, and we just don't want any fighting between our colonies. So it is, again, applicable for certain times of the year. But if you start noticing robbing and whatnot going on, then you may have to look for something else. My 2 preferences, if I'm going to feed in hive, is this top cover right here. It has an entrance, and it has the capability to put it on top of your top brood box, just like that. And then you can place a super, or if you have another box on top of it. You're never disturbing the bees inside this bottom box here. What you're doing is you're taking your top cover off here. This is your inner cover. You would place 2 jars right in the hole here full of sugar water, one here. And you also have the option to take a pollen patty, make a pollen patty, put it here, and push it in here, and squash it into those holes, and they can eat it. You can check this box here at any time without disturbing your colony if you don't want to. If the jar is empty, you can just pull it out, they don't get out, and you can just take another one and place it right in place, just like that. For me, I have a lot of colonies, so I have 8 just here alone, and then 6 at other places. The other, at the farms, I place with this feeder all the time. And then you have these feeders here, which are just poultry feeders. And they have a hole right here on the bottom, right here. And here's your little cap that you unscrew. And before you fill this up, you screw the cap on. I fill this full of rocks or, you know, sticks and stuff like that so they don't drown in here, because this does get an inch or 2 deep in here. But I take the cover off, I fill it up, I place the cover on nice and snug, and then I reach down and I undo this cap. I put this cap on here so I don't lose it, and then the water comes out and fills up the trough. Same thing here. As you can see, I have some wire mesh in there so that they can't crawl in that hole. I really advise you to do that here also. Cover that with wire mesh and put some rocks or something against it so they can't knock the wire mesh off. Otherwise, when the water gets low, they will crawl in that hole and you'll have 100 or so dead bees inside of your feeder inside of here. So these are the poultry feeders. This one holds 5 gallons. This one holds 3. I usually run one of those and 2 of those for 8 colonies here. And they just work really well this time of year. There were questions as, you know, do other bees come to it from other areas? It is possible. I had that problem last year from a beekeeper that was neglecting his bees and not feeding them. I had to go back to this system here. You have to feed them more often sometimes because they will drink 2 quarts pretty quick. But it works. It works okay. This feeder here, this top cover here that I got, please visit honeybeesonline.com. I bought one of these from David Burns. He's the one that designed this, who invented it. You can use this top cover here or this inner cover all year, you know, when you're feeding, and that's what I do. I ordered one, and because I work with wood pretty good, I made my own for the rest of the colonies. So just a couple things that you can do to feed your bees, and I do like this one the best for in-hive feeding, and I do prefer these for community feeders. So real quick, if you want to you don't want to spend $30 on a you know, a community feeder, or you can't at the time, and that's understandable. There was a time when I couldn't do that either. I bought my poultry feeders one at a time here and there. But another idea, and I'll try to show this to you quick. I'm sorry I'm taking up a lot of your time. But another idea is what they call a bucket feeder. And you could just go down to Lowe's or Home Depot. Don't use any other buckets, just those 2 places. And you can grab this bucket. I'll show you here in a minute. Yeah, here it is. Let me empty out the rainwater. This is what I initially used for community feeding. I took this bucket, and if I can get this top off, hold on guys. Well, I can't get it off very well, but you can see all these little wedges that are in here, for lack of a better word. And what I did is I looked on the other side, and I found where those ledges were here, and I drilled little tiny holes, and they're less than 1/8 inch, but you can make them about 1/8 inch or less diameter. And I drilled them all the way around, and they're drilled right there. You can see them on each side. And then I put this paint lid on here. It's a rim that seals it, and then I had a cover that I just screws onto that paint lid, or you can just use a regular 5-gallon bucket cover. So that is a generic way of doing things. You tip it upside down like that. The sugar water comes out of the holes into here, and the bees go in here and they have a place to rest and drink. Now this one, the reason why I went to the poultry feeders is because if the dearth is on and you're feeding a bunch of bees and they're really hungry, they can drown each other in each one of these slots. So you might lose, you know, 50 bees each feeding or so to that happening. It worked for me for a little while, and then I found the poultry feeders at Tractor Supply, and they did work great. So everybody, please enjoy your day. I'm sorry that was quick. I just don't want to bore you to death either. This is probably the longest video that I made, and we're going to go back over here to the colonies, and we're going to get them we're going to get the electric fence turned back on, and for the night they will be all set. Your feeding up to this point is 1-to-1, and starting in September should be 2-to-1 or a little bit more. When you mix 2-to-1 sugar, it makes it easier and faster for them to dry out the moisture in the water. 1-to-1, it takes a little longer. So thanks for watching this, everybody. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, ask away here on Gab or in the comment section. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I'm not looking to be stardom here or anything else, but if you have any questions, ask anybody here on Gab or your local beekeeper association, and I'm sure they've been more than happy to help you out. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.